Welcome to 8.4, the dot product. And really what we need to look at here is how the dot product works. Given two vectors and you multiply them together, you just multiply their entries together, the x's together, then the y's together, and then you add those values together. Okay, so and then there's some other things in your properties of dot product. A times A is the same thing as your magnitude squared. The dot product of A and B is the same as B times A. Distribution is the same. A scalar times 1 is the same thing as taking it times the other. And then 0 times this, a vector is still 0. All right, so now parallel and orthogonal vectors. Parallel vectors, two vectors are parallel if the angle between them is 0 or pi. If they're opposite rays, think of a vector as rays. If they're opposite rays, then the angle between them would be 180 degrees or pi. And they're orthogonal if they're vectors, the dot product of the vectors equals 0. All right. And then here we have different formulas for finding the angle between two vectors. So two different formulas for that. And what we're doing here is really, if you have a vector here and a vector there, the component of A onto B is really what it's asking is this part. It's like the shadow of the one vector on the other one. It wants to know what that length is, and that's what you're trying to find. So you have two different formulas you can use to figure out what that shadow length is. All right, so let's get at this. All right, then we're going to get into definition of work. Work is basically the two vectors multiplied together. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. So the dot product of the two vectors, let's do that. So negative 2 times 3 plus 5 times 6. So negative 6 plus 30 is 24. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. Negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. That's negative 31. All right, so we'll start doing this a little bit faster, just writing some things down and then getting the final answers. Okay, so let's also get the angle between the two vectors. All right, so that's the dot product over the magnitude of each of them multiplied together, and then it would be the arc cosine. That's how you would get it. Okay, so let's do that. We already have the dot product is 24. The magnitude is 4 and 25, or square root of 29. Magnitude of B is 9 and 36, or 45. So, and what we want is get theta, so we'd have to take the arc cosine of those values. So 24 divided by the square root of 29 times 45. You can put those together. Okay, and we get 0.66436. So the arc cosine of that answer gives us 48.4 degrees. All right, now we get the same thing here. Theta is going to be the arc cosine of the dot product over the magnitudes of 16 and 49. 16 plus 49 is going to be 65. And 36 and 1 is 37. So 65 times 37. So that will be the square root of 2405, all underneath the negative 31. And then we'll take the arc cosine of that. So let's just do negative 31 divided by this 31 divided by the square root of 2405 gives us negative 0.632. So the arc cosine of that answer is 129.2 degrees. All right, let's go through the ones. So we have these vectors just as a quick review: 4, negative 1, negative 3, and 2. So let's just do all this at the same time. The dot product is 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So the dot product is negative 14. And so we use the dot product over the magnitudes. All right, so the magnitude, so what we're doing here is we're getting the angle between the two vectors. So what do we have here? The magnitude of A, 16 plus 1 is 17, and 9 plus 4 is 13. So 17 times 13 on your calculator, and then you take the square root of that, so that's going to be the square root of 221. So negative 14 divided by the square root of 221. That gives us the arc cosine of negative 0.94 dot dot dot. So take the second cosine of that answer that you got, and you get theta to be 160 degrees. Now if you do decimals, 0.35 degrees, all right? Number 4 is 8, negative 3, and 2, negative 7. Do the same thing all over again. So if it's going too fast, then stop the video and try it on your own. So we have 16 plus 21. That would be 37. And we're going to divide that by 64 and 9 is 73. And 4 and 49 is 53. And take 73 times 53. So that's going to be the square root of 3869. So 37 divided by the square root of 3869, 0.5948, and then we take the arc cosine of that, and we get theta to be 53.5 degrees. All right, so we have our dot products and our angles between them. All right, IJ, this would be 90, and that's 5, 4. Dot product is 45 plus 0, or 45. We're going to divide that by 81 plus 0 is 81, and 25 and 16 is 41. The square root of 81 is 9, so 9 times the square root of 41. Let's just take and do this. 45 divided by, parentheses, 9 times the square root of 41. And we'll close that parentheses. That gives us 0.78086. So we take the arc cosine of the answer. And we get 38.66 degrees. Okay. Now number 6. IJ, so 0, 6. And IJ, negative 4 is 0. So that's going to be 0. 0 times anything is 0, and 6 times 0 is 0. So these are orthogonal. Orthogonal means they're perpendicular. So just visual here, 0, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There is your first vector. Your other vector is at negative 4, 0. So there's that, and that's 90 degrees in between them. So your dot product is 0, and your degree is 90 degrees. All right, dot product, negative 27 plus negative 3 would be negative 30. There's our dot product. So negative 30 divided by 81 and 9 is 90. And 9 and 1 is 10. So that's negative 30 over the square root of 900. And we're going to take the arc cosine of that value. So negative 30 divided by the square root of 900, it gives me negative 1. So the arc cosine of negative 1 is going to be 180 degrees, which makes sense. The arc cosine, when is x negative 1? On the unit circle at 180 degrees. So that's 180 degrees. So these two vectors are parallel. So visually, negative 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, negative 3, 1, 2, 3. So there's that vector, and 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. They form a straight line, so they're parallel, slopes are the same, and they're just going opposite directions. Number 8, it'd be 3 plus 12, that's 15. There's your dot product, 15 over. 9 and 36 is 45. 1 and 4 is 5. So 45 times 5 is 225, which is 15. 15 over 15 is 1. So where is the cosine 1? Well, at 0. So it's 0 degrees. All right, so they're parallel. So just a visual of this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and then negative 1, 2 is right there. It's on the same line. That's why it's a 0 degree difference. All right, show that the vectors are orthogonal. So just do the dot product. 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. That equals 0. Done. Negative 2 times 10 is negative 20. 5 times 4 is 20. That's 0. Number 11, ij, 0, negative 4. And ij, negative 7, 0. Well, 0 plus 0 is going to be 0 for your dot product. 7, negative 14. And 2, 1. 7 times 2 is 14. Negative 14 times 1 is, negative 14. So that's 0. Show that the vectors are parallel and determine whether they have the same direction or opposite directions. All right, so their same direction, the theta would be 0. Opposite direction, the theta would be 180 degrees. So we need our angle between the two vectors. So theta is going to be the arc cosine of the dot product. So here we have 3 times, let's write it out, 3, negative 5, and negative 12 sevenths, and 20 sevenths. All right, so 3 times negative 12 sevenths is negative 36 sevenths, plus negative 5 times 20 sevenths is negative 100 sevenths. Okay, and that's all over your magnitude. 9 and 25 is 34. And that's 144. 144 over 49 plus 400 over 49, which gives us square root of 544 over 49. The square root of 49 is 7. So square root of 544 over 7. All right, so now what do we have here? 36 and 100 is negative 136 all over 7, all over 34 times 544 gives us the square root of 18496 all over 7. So we're going to take 136 over 7 times the reciprocal of the denominator, 18496. 7's reduce out, so our answer, not quite yet, but the arc cosine of negative 136 divided by that square root. All right, so if we take the square root of that value, it's 136. So negative 136 over 136 is negative 1. So where is the x value negative 1? At 180 degrees. Okay, so they are opposite directions from each other. Probably could graph it and seen that. Okay, now let's erase part of this, or I'll just move it up here. Our new vectors for 14 are negative 5 halves, 6, and the other one is negative 10, 24. All right, so now you find the dot product, negative 5 halves times negative 10 plus 6 times 24. 6 times 24 is 144. And negative 5 halves times negative 10 is going to be 25. That's 169. So that's our dot product all over the magnitude. That's 25 fourths plus 36. And this one is 100 plus 24 squared is 576. So 169 over, add these two together, well, the other side is 676. All right, so get a common denominator by multiplying by 4. 36 times 4 is 144, plus the 25 is 169. So 169 over 4. That is 13 halves outside of the radical, times the square root of 676 is 26. So we have 169 over, 2 goes in 26 13 times. 13 times 13 is 169. So where is the x value? Positive 1 at 0 degrees, which means your vectors are on the going in the same direction. Okay, so just real quickly, 2/3, 2/3 and 3/4. All right, so there you go. That's that vector, and then 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up there. It's going the same. They're going to be the same direction, but you have to show how you know that, other than the graph. So the dot product again. So theta equals the arc cosine of dot product would be 2/3 times 8 plus 3/4 times 9. So that's 16/3 plus 27/4. Got to get a common denominator to put this together. So 12 multiplied by 4, that's 64, multiplied by 3, that's 81. 64 and 81 is 145. So 145 over 12. All right, so that's our dot product, which you could reduce by 3, 145. No, that doesn't divisible. That's not divisible by 3. So that's our dot product. And now we need that all over the square root of the magnitude. So that's 4/9 plus 9/16. And the other one is 64 plus 81. 64 plus 81 gives you 145. All right, so on the left here, we got to get a common denominator. So 9 and 16, 16 goes into 32, goes into 48, 64. Let's just take 9 times the other side and 4 times, or 16 times this side. So 16 times 4 is 64, and 9 times 9 is 81. So there's your 145 all over 9 times 16 is 144, which should be the square root of 145 all over 12 times the square root of 145. Well, square root times the square root is just what's underneath, if it's the same. So you have 145 over 12. So you have 145 over 12 over, remember this division symbol, 145 over 12. Well, that's 1. So where's x1? At 0 degrees, which means they're going the same direction. All right, so number 16. So 16, the dot product is 6 times negative 4 is negative 24. 18 times negative 12. 18 times negative 12 gives you negative 216. Add the 24 to it. Negative 24. You get negative 240. All right, that's your dot product. Now you need your magnitudes. So 36 plus 324 is 360. And the magnitude of the 4 and the 12, 16 and 144 is 160. So 360 plus 160, or I'm sorry, 360 times 160, you're multiplying those two together. Negative 240 over the square root of 57600. Well, I'll take the square root of that. Get 240. So negative 240 over 240 is negative 1. So the arc cosine of negative 1 gives you 180 degrees. So they are in opposite directions of each other. Okay, determine M such that the two vectors are orthogonal. So on 17 here, we get 3, negative 2, and 4, 5, M. All right, so orthogonal means their dot product, 3 times 4 plus negative 2 times 5M, has to be equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 12, and this right here is negative 10M. Now negative 10M equals negative 12. Divide off the negative 10, and M is 12/10. Divided by 2 is 6/5. So M has to be 6/5 in order for those to be orthogonal. Number 18, 4M and 1, got 9M and negative 25. Okay, so this would be 36M squared plus negative 25. That has to equal 0. So add 25, 36M squared equals 25. Divide off the 36, get 25 over 36. Take the square root to get M, and we get 5, 6 again. So 18 is 5, 6, and we should probably say plus or minus, just to cover our bases, since it's a square root. All right, number 19. We have 9 and negative 16M. And then we have 1 and 4m. So the dot product is 9 plus negative 64m squared. And that has to equal 0 for them to be orthogonal. So now we solve it. Subtract 9. So you get negative 64m squared equals negative 9. Divide off the negative 64. You get positive 9 over 64, and the square root of that is 3/8, plus or minus. Okay, now number 20. Put this up just a little. We get our vector 5, 3, and, 5m3, and then we have 2, 7. So 5m times 2 is 10m, 3 times 7 is 21, and that has to equal 0. Subtract the 21, divide off the 10, and negative 21 tenths is your answer. All right, here are our two vectors, and our third one. Find the number. So we're taking and doing this. We got to do the parentheses first, so add b and c. So 3 and negative 1 is 2. This is b plus c here. And 4 and 5 is 9. And now we're taking the dot product with a, 2, negative 3. So that's 4 plus negative 27, which is negative 23. Negative 23 is that answer, right? Now, that was part A. We need part B. So a dot b, so that's 6 plus negative 12, that's negative 6, plus a dot c, the dot product of a and c. So that's negative 2 plus negative 15, or negative 17. Negative 6 and negative 17 is negative 23. So that would be part B. 22. Part A. Let's do a minus c first. A minus c is 2 minus a negative 1 minus, not minus, and then you get negative 3 minus 5. So a minus c is, change, 3, negative 8. And we got to do the dot product with b. b is 3, 4. So we get 9 plus negative 32, which is negative 23. So 22 is negative 23. Now part B, the dot product of b and a, that's 6 plus negative 12, or negative 6, minus the dot product of b, c. So b and c dot product would be negative 3 plus 20. So that's negative 6 minus 17, which is negative 23. So you get negative 23 for all of those values. All right, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so now we have these vectors. We're going to do the same type of thing. So on 23, we have a plus b, so a plus c. So 2 plus negative 1 is 1, and negative 3 plus 5 is 2. All right, and then we're going to take the dot product with this a minus c. So 2 minus a negative 1 is 3, and negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. Now the dot product for that is 3 plus negative 16, or negative 13. Okay, now we're going to take 24, do the same thing. A minus b. 2 minus 3 is 1, and negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. And that's the dot product with b plus c. So b plus c is 3 plus negative 1 is 2. 4 plus 5 is 9. Now the dot product there is 2 plus negative 63, or negative 61. Now, the component of b on to c in our formula up here. So we want b onto c, so we need the dot product of b and c. So the dot product of b times c is 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, plus 4 times 5 is 20. So that gives us 17 over the magnitude of b. The magnitude of b is 9. Square root of 9 plus 16 would be 25, or 5. So the component of b on to c, okay, I guess that was supposed to be the magnitude of c at the bottom. So the base goes in, magnitude of the base goes in your denominator. So we need the magnitude of c. So let's redo that. Magnitude of c is negative 1 squared is 1, 5 squared is 25. So this would be the square root of 26. Okay, so you can put that in a calculator and figure out what that is. And we get 3.3, approximately 3.3. All right, so now we want the component of C onto B. So again, you need the the dot product of B and C, which we already have, is 17. And then now we want the magnitude of B, which we already found a minute ago. That was the square root of 9 plus 16, so that was 5. So 17 divided by 5, and that is 3.4 exactly. All right, 27. So the component of A plus C onto B. So A plus C is 1, 2. That was what we did on number 23. So that's 1, 2. That would be A plus C. So now we need the dot product of that and B. So 1 times 3 is 3, and 2 times 4 is 8. So that dot product is 11. And now we need the magnitude of the base, B, again, which is 5. So 11 fifths. So 11 divided by 5 is 2.2 exactly. All right. So now on 28, we need the component of C on to C. So you need the dot product of C and the magnitude of C. All right, so the dot product of C and C is negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Okay, and 5 times 5 is 25. So that's going to give us 26 on the top. And the magnitude of C is the square root of 26. Okay, so 26 divided by the square root of 26, and that's going to give us 5.1. So those are your values for up through 28.